Too many seniors walk into a yearly checkup and leave with tests they never needed. And the three checks that could actually protect your freedom often get rushed, skipped, or buried in paperwork. If you want to stay healthy and independent as you age, hit that subscribe button right now. We share simple, science-backed health tips like this every single day, and the next one could save you years of stress. After years of watching the same pattern over and over, one truth stands out. More testing does not always mean better care. Sometimes it means more worry, more false alarms, and more follow-up visits you never needed in the first place. And today, I'm going to show you what matters most, so you can stop chasing every test and start protecting the three checks that truly deserve your attention each year. Now, before we continue, tell me your age and where you're watching from in the comments. This helps us understand who we're helping. Here's what most people get wrong. They think more testing is always safer. It sounds smart, right? Check everything, scan everything, catch everything early. But your body is not a broken car that needs every warning light tested once a year. And your health is not protected by how many forms you sign. A 2020 study led by Penn State University found that at least half of older adults had received at least one unnecessary cancer screening test in the previous few years. Even more shocking, 45% to 75% were getting screened past the age where the test was likely to help them. That means many seniors were taking the risk now, while the benefit might never come at all. And it's not just cancer tests. A 2024 study from Northwestern University found that when doctors got clear alerts inside the medical record, unnecessary prostate screening dropped by 9%, and unnecessary urine testing in older women dropped by 5.5%. Think about what that means. The tests were not helping. The system was just used to ordering them. Look, I'm not saying doctors are trying to harm you. Most are trying to be careful, but careful can turn into automatic, and automatic can turn into waste. A false alarm on a test can lead to another test, then a scan, then a biopsy, then a medicine you never needed. It's like pulling one loose thread on a sweater and watching the whole thing unravel. A 2021 study from Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health found something else that should make every senior pause. Among older adults labeled with prediabetes, only 8% to 9% developed diabetes over about 6.5 years. In one group, 44% actually returned to normal blood sugar. So no, every slightly off number is not a medical emergency. Sometimes the smartest move is not more panic. It's better focus. So let's count this down. Number 5 is the first trap. Number 5, the giant annual blood panel. Most people think if the doctor checks everything, they're being thorough. But actually, checking too many things with no clear reason is like throwing 10 fishing lines into a pond and then panicking every time one twitches. The more numbers you pull, the more likely one will be a little high or a little low, even when nothing serious is wrong. Here's the thing. A test should answer a question, not create 3 new ones. If you feel fine and you do not have symptoms and you do not have a condition being followed, ask one simple question before agreeing to extra lab work. What decision will this test change? If the answer is fuzzy, that is your clue to slow down. Let me be clear. I'm not against blood work. I'm against random blood work. There's a difference. If you have kidney disease, anemia, thyroid problems, or you started a new medicine, that is different. But if someone is ordering a long list just because, you deserve a real reason. A 2024 study from Northwestern University highlighted how routine overtesting in older adults can lead to unnecessary care and serious health problems. That is the danger. Not helpful checking, but automatic checking. So what do? Bring a written list of your medicines. Ask which tests are for a known problem, which are for symptoms, and which are just routine habit. Then ask, if this comes back abnormal, what happens next? That one question can save you from a chain reaction. And before you chase 5 vitamin tests, look at your plate. 2 eggs at breakfast, 1 cup of plain Greek yogurt, and half a cup of oatmeal will tell you more about your daily habits than one random lab sheet ever could. Not endless numbers, but better patterns. But wait until you see number 4, because this one scares people the most. Number 4, yearly cancer and heart screening just because you're older. Most people think catching everything early can only help. But actually, age changes the math. Some tests help a lot at one age and much less at another. Why? Because every screening has 2 sides. One side is benefit, the other side is harm. And after a certain age, that harm can grow fast. The 2020 Penn State University study we talked about found overscreening was incredibly common in older adults. Men were often overscreened for colorectal cancer. Women were often overscreened for breast, colorectal, and cervical cancer. That matters because screening is not a harmless hobby. A colonoscopy can cause bleeding. A biopsy can cause pain and fear. A false positive means the test says something is wrong when it really isn't. Then came a 2024 study from Yale School of Medicine. It found that among screened women aged 70 to 74, about 31% of breast cancer cases found on mammograms were unlikely to cause symptoms or harm. In women 75 to 84, that number rose to 47%. Read that again in your mind. Almost half in that older group may have been overdiagnosed. So what should you do? Don't say yes just because you always have. Ask, am I average risk or high risk? Am I having symptoms? How many years does this test usually take to help someone? And at my age, do the benefits still clearly beat the risks? And instead of living from screening to screening, build the habits that reduce risk every day. 1 cup of berries, 1 cup of broccoli, and half a cup of beans most days of the week is a better long game than hoping one machine catches everything. Not panic, but prevention. Quick question. Have you ever had a test come back a little off and then spent weeks worrying about it? Comment yes or no below. Now we move into the 3 checks that deserve your attention every year for most seniors. Number 3, blood pressure. Most people think high blood pressure always makes noise, a headache, a pounding chest, a dizzy spell. But actually, high blood pressure is often silent. That's why people call it the silent killer. It can damage your heart, brain, kidneys, and eyes while you feel completely normal. Think of it like water pressure in old pipes. If the pressure stays too high day after day, the inside of the pipes gets worn down. Not all at once, little by little. That is what happens inside your blood vessels. This is one yearly check almost every senior should protect. The U.S. Preventive Services Task Force recommends yearly blood pressure screening for adults age 40 and older. And a 2022 report from the University of Michigan found that only 48% of adults age 50 to 80 with blood pressure-related conditions checked it at home regularly, even though many already had a monitor and 62% said a clinician had told them to check. So how do you do this right? First, don't measure it right after climbing stairs, drinking coffee, or arguing on the phone. Sit quietly for 5 minutes. Put both feet flat on the floor. Rest your arm on a table at heart level. Use the right cuff size. Take 2 readings, 1 minute apart. Write down both. Do that in the morning and evening for 7 days if your doctor wants a home average. What numbers matter? In general, many doctors worry when the top number stays high over time, especially 130 or more. But your personal goal may be different based on age, falls, stroke history, or medicines. That's why your trend matters more than one random reading. Food helps here too. Aim for 1 cup of leafy greens, half a cup of beans, 1 medium banana, and 1 cup of plain yogurt through the day if those foods work for your body and your doctor says potassium is okay for you. And watch the salt trap. Soup, deli meat, frozen dinners, and crackers can pile up fast. Not fancy, but powerful. Before we go further, if this is making sense so far, hit that like button. It tells me you want more videos like this. Number 2, a full eye exam. Most people think they only need an eye exam when they cannot read the label on a pill bottle. But actually, your eyes can change long before you notice it. Glaucoma, which is pressure damage to the optic nerve, can steal sight slowly. Macular degeneration, which damages the center of vision, can creep in quietly. Diabetes can also damage the tiny blood vessels in the eye. Your eyes are not just windows. They are warning lights. A 2019 study from the University of Michigan found that only 58.5% of adults aged 50 to 80 had an eye exam in the past year. Another University of Michigan report found that about 27% of older adults said they had been diagnosed with cataracts, glaucoma, macular degeneration, or diabetic eye disease. That is more than 1 in 4. And there's another reason this matters. Vision problems do not only affect reading, they affect balance, driving, cooking, and falls. If you can't clearly see the edge of a step, the floor in dim light, or a rug corner, your risk changes fast. So what should you do? Book a full exam with an eye doctor once a year, especially after 65. Bring your glasses. Bring a medicine list. Tell them if lights glare more than they used to, if night driving feels harder, if straight lines look wavy, or if one eye seems weaker. If they dilate your eyes, that means they use drops to widen the pupil so they can see the back of the eye better. It can blur your vision for a few hours, so plan a ride if needed, and support your eyes with food too. 1 cup of spinach, half a cup of carrots, 3 ounces of salmon, and 1 egg a few times each week can help give your eyes key nutrients. Not magic, but support. But number one is the one many seniors either overdo or completely ignore. Number one, a targeted blood sugar test. Most people think blood sugar is only a problem if they eat dessert. But actually, blood sugar is your body's fuel system. If it runs too high for too long, it can damage nerves, kidneys, eyes, and blood vessels. If it drops too low from diabetes medicine, that can be just as dangerous. Weakness, sweating, confusion, even a fall. Now let me be very clear. I am not saying every senior needs nonstop A1C testing. A 1C is the blood test that shows your average blood sugar over the last 2 to 3 months. If your sugar has been normal for years and you have low risk, your doctor may not need to check it often. But as a yearly check, this is one of the few simple tests that can matter a lot when used with a real reason. The key word is targeted. A 2021 study from Johns Hopkins found that among older adults with prediabetes, only 8% to 9% progressed to diabetes over about 6.5 years, while many stayed stable or even returned to normal. That means two things at once. First, you should not panic over one mildly high number. Second, you should not ignore rising sugar if you already have risk factors like extra weight around the waist, family history, high blood pressure, or past abnormal results. So how do you handle this wisely? If you already have diabetes, ask how often your A1C truly needs checking based on your medicines and control. If you do not have diabetes, ask whether a fasting glucose or A1C once a year makes sense for your age, weight, symptoms, and history. Not because everybody does it, but because your body gives a reason. And if your number starts creeping up, your first step is usually not fear. It's routine. Build meals around 20 to 30 grams of protein. Add 1 cup of non-starchy vegetables like green beans or salad. Choose half a cup of beans or half a cup of berries instead of large sugary snacks. Then walk for 10 to 15 minutes after meals. That one habit can act like a sponge and help soak up sugar from the blood. I'd love to hear your story. What made you click on this video today? Share in the comments. Now let's pump the brakes for a second. I'm not saying this to scare you, but simple advice can become risky when it ignores your real medical history. If you feel chest pain, sudden shortness of breath, fainting, one-sided weakness, black stools, new bleeding, sudden vision loss, or confusion, that is not screening anymore. That is a reason to get medical care right away. Also, do not stop medicines just because your numbers improve. Blood pressure pills, diabetes drugs, blood thinners, and even over-the-counter pain relievers can affect your kidneys, sugar, and balance. Some eye drops can sting. Dilating drops can blur vision for hours. Diabetes medicine can cause low sugar if meals are skipped. Blood pressure medicine can make some people dizzy when they stand up too fast. And if you already have heart disease, kidney disease, cancer history, severe obesity, or a strong family history of certain illnesses, you may need more than these 3 yearly checks. That is why this video is about what matters for most seniors, not every special case on earth. So you're convinced, but thinking, how do I actually do this? Start simple. At your next visit, bring a written list of every medicine, vitamin, and supplement you take. Then ask your doctor 4 questions. Which yearly checks do I truly need? Which tests are for a known condition? Which tests can wait? And what changes if the result is abnormal? Second, get a basic home blood pressure cuff if you can. Many good ones cost less than a dinner out. If money is tight, some pharmacies and community centers still have machines you can use. Third, book the eye exam before you forget. If you wait until your vision feels obviously worse, you may be late. Fourth, make your meals do more of the work. Oatmeal instead of pastries, beans instead of chips, berries instead of candy, water instead of sweet tea. A 10-minute walk after lunch and dinner costs nothing, and it helps blood pressure, sugar, mood, sleep, and even digestion. Look, there's a lot of noise out there, a lot of testing, a lot of fear, a lot of people acting like staying healthy means checking every box on a giant lab sheet. You don't need to overthink this. For most seniors, the smartest yearly focus is simple. Protect your blood pressure check, protect your eye exam, protect a targeted blood sugar test when your body or history gives a reason. Start with just one action this week. If you own a blood pressure cuff, use it. If you are overdue for an eye exam, book it. If you have not asked why a test is being ordered, ask that question next time. Your body will tell you if it's working. You'll feel steadier, clearer, more in control. If this helped you, hit that like button. And if you want more videos like this, make sure you're subscribed because we post new health tips every single day. Stay healthy, stay strong.